Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journal page. Today we're going to be using collage scraps in our art journal to create a pretty funky background. So I'm starting off in my Dina Wakley craft journal. You can see it's a bit of a used up page where I've tried out pens and so on. And I'm just going in and pasting down some leftover collage papers from the background that I've cut out from different bits and pieces that have been sitting around for a little while. While I'm doing that, I'm then adding in some extra paint. So I'm sort of taking my colour cues from the papers that I've glued down. And quite often when I'm in the, I'm not sure what I'm doing, I'll put some collage papers down and then choose the paints from the collage papers. It just takes out that element of, what colours go with what. So this one's a fairly bright primary kind of based color scheme. You can see there wasn't too much care taken with how I painted it on, and then I decided I just wanted to add some additional color over the top using some paints. So I'm going in with this really large dot stencil, and I love in my pages playing around with the size and the shape of things. So having some large stenciled images versus some smaller ones, fine versus bold. Having those little contradictions really helps sometimes. So you can see here I'm using a slightly finer stencil. They're all graphic shapes, so triangles, circles and so on, just to have that sort of really not rigid but defined sort of background, I suppose, if that makes sense. So you can see here now I'm going in with even smaller circles. So there's repetition of the shapes I'm using or the colours I'm using. I used a little bit of a white, but I didn't clean off my sponge, so I'm getting sort of softer shades of red through it, just to soften off the page a little bit. One of the things I do like to do when I've done pages like this is backgrounds, to take a photo of it. So for me, I can print that out again in the future and use it when I need to, either as an inspiration, or it's really good if I'm in a rush and I need ATCs, sorry, I always go for Australian Capital Territory instead of artist trading cards. That I've got sort of a pre-prepared background. So this lovely woman that I'm cutting out is, as you can see, from an old calendar, and it's all to do with the horoscopes, I think, which doesn't interest me, but I really like the images of the ladies in it. So I bought the calendar on special, and I'm just chucking it into my journal. See, it's for this year. I'm terrible with calendars, but if I like the artwork in them, I'll buy the calendar and use the artwork. So she's sort of got this really graphic face, and one of the reasons I sort of chose her as my focal image for this page was the fact that she had all those sort of bright oranges, greens, reds, pinks on the page that blended with my background somewhat. So as I always do, because I'm never content just to leave a printed image as is, I'll either go and add something to their eyes or add some extra colour in somewhere on the page. While I'm busy tapping my fingers around, I'm actually looking for a quote to put in. So I've got this one that I've written down. Usually when I'm looking for quotes like this, especially if it's sort of strong figure, I will look up, strong women or fierce women or she quotes. You can quite often get quite a lot. I know Heidi Swapp a long time ago wrote a book called She that had a whole heap of quotes in it, which I sometimes break out as well. Once I've written out my letters and spaced them out that I want to, then I go back in with a thicker pen and widen them. So the reason I do this is just to make the spacing a little bit more even, and so it fills up the page more than just leaving those sort of skinny letters with wide spacing in between it. So she remembered who she was and the game changed. And I really sort of like that. You can see she's got very determined looking forward towards the future and about to change the game. One of the things I do like doing when I'm writing quotes is to try and change the size or the font, or go from lowercase to capitals and so on, if there's a focal word that I want to focus on. If you are unsure about doing that sort of thing, I would highly recommend going to Pinterest to look up your quotes, because quite often the quotes are actually written sort of in lovely calligraphy styles and sort of collage calligraphy, so you get a number of different quotes in one way. If you go to Canva as well, sometimes you can, if you didn't want to handwrite it, you could do that sort of a thing in there for free as well, which is very, very handy, and they've got some good style guides and so on you can use. So now I'm just going in with my white pen to give a little bit of a highlight to my letters. You can see that when I'm doing lettering, it does take a little bit of time. It doesn't necessarily take time. It looks like I'm fiddling over it. I've done that 3 times now. But usually at this point of when I'm creating a page, I just want to keep going, so I actually don't mind fiddling around with the letters too much. And I think having the highlights and the shadows on them really make them finished. So I hope you have a go using up your collage scraps and using those as a bit of an inspiration for the colour themes you choose. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.